Namaste and welcome. A little spontaneous live. We are multi-streaming now on many different platforms again, like we were before. But the main platform is Rumble. And just for yesterday, for anyone um, that was trying to get onto Rumble yesterday, Rumble was got a DDoS attack, like a cyber attack. Um, Most likely because there's lots of stuff on there that is very inconvenient for some energies and some beings, some little rascals. But it's back up today again, I think. I'm sure everything is working well. So today I wanted to share a little something that was received. And a lot of times I get this where these things that are hidden in plain sight just become obvious. And I never cease to be amazed by how obvious these things are, and yet I can't see them. I've shared many times before about like especially like songs from my childhood that I listened to but never heard. And I hear these songs now in a new consciousness, and you hear words and you hear phrases and you hear things that you can't even believe that are in those songs, even though you know those songs, because we've been listening but not hearing. But what came today was this war, and it was the words, the letters WAR. And then just as I was writing the title to this, it's Raw War. And I noticed Raw is war backwards. So we'll start with war. And what it was shown to me, I was kind of, I just get these kind of instantaneous, I don't know how to describe it, it's just like a knowing. There was kind of a bit of a visual with it, showing the letters and showing one way of interpreting the letters. This is not the way, it's a way. And so what I was showing was war. So in the middle, we talk about on this channel a lot, we move from the relative reality to the absolute reality. We do it mid-sentence and we don't speak too much about it when we shift. And that's why there seems to be paradox at times. And so what I was showing with the word war, W-A-R, so the A was the absolute in the middle, and then the R was relative, and W was word. So the absolute in the center of the relative word, or the absolute is the source of the relative word. And so when there is actual war in the world, it's a representation of the war within ourselves. But it's when there is war, we put the word before the absolute. So the W goes in front of the A. So the word, meaning my separate self, my wants, my desires, my beliefs, things I need to defend, things I want to get, things that I feel like I'm lacking, that I need to get others, um, feeling threatened, feeling fearful, belief in death, belief in lack. That's when there's war. So the world is put in front of the absolute reality. And then when it's raw, we could say we put the R, we're putting relative reality in front of the absolute. When we are raw, it's we're drawn back to the core. And so the relative reality is the perceived reality. It's the reality that we think is real. So that relative reality. But if we strip that relative reality back to its core, to its rawness, we become vulnerable. We become transparent. We become courageous and honest and authentic. So it's raw. So when we turn war back to front, when we invert war, we get raw. But you notice in raw and war that the absolute stays where it is, no matter what the relative world or the warring world or the what is appearing around it. It is the source of it. It's the steady source of all, and it's unchanging, and it doesn't shift no matter what is appearing in the relative world, no matter what order or seeming disorder is appearing in the world, in the relative world. The absolute is always present, always steady, always stable, always the source of everything, always the source of what is. It doesn't change. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't move. I was trying to see if there was a word, ARW, didn't think so, or AWR, doesn't really work, WRA, so none of those work. So the absolute is always in the center, at least when we're talking in this simple three-letter words of raw and war. So the invitation is, firstly, when we see war, so it's out there, war, we put war, we've put the world out in front of, we put the when we have war, we put the world in front of the absolute reality. What is the stillness inside? So when we see war in the relative reality in the world, we're invited to come back to the center, come back in to see, where is this war existent within ourselves? Where is fear within ourselves? Where is lack within ourselves? Where is jealousy or envy within ourselves? And when we end the war within, there is no war without. External war is a representation of humans at war within themselves and trying to fix an external circumstances by brute force and violence to fill a hole that is within. Now, the absolute doesn't have a hole, of course. The absolute is whole. But when we believe ourselves to be the relative reality, when we believe ourselves to be the word and put it first, we believe that we are these separate selves that can be lacking, that can be separate from our source, that can be hurt, that can be harmed, that have something to gain, something to achieve, something is lost, something we must find justice. All of these things, we put the world first. The relative reality is raw then when we put the relative reality stripped back, we are able to become raw with ourselves. We're able to get authentic. We're able to get honest. We're able to get courageous, to look within, be raw, be vulnerable. And then we invert war. So we can go from war to raw and then just back to the absolute. When we drop the world and the relative reality, the W and the R, we're just at the absolute where we always have been. So you notice again, when raw is going on, challenging as it may be, beautiful as it may be, when war is going on, challenging as it always is, the absolute is unchanged. Your core is unchanged. Nothing can move it, nothing can stop it, nothing can hurt it, nothing can harm it. The absolute is ever present, ever steady, ever clear, ever here, ever now, every how, every when, every now. So the invitation is to look to see, are you feeling raw? Have you been at war within? And the answer is always the same. The absolute, the core, the source. Resource yourself. Resource self. Okay, this is a little short one. We'll be back to live stream with the Life of Bliss quotes at 3:33 London time. If you've enjoyed this, please put in the comments where you're joining from, what this has brought up from you, anything around raw or war or anything else that you see hidden in plain sight. I love this stuff. Please share it. And you can like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff and share it with friends if you feel it is of benefit. And until next time, from my heart to yours, the divine in me sees, honors, and loves the divine in you. Namaste. We are.